What up, Shredder?
I want you to imagine something for me. You live in a giant, beautiful, rent-controlled apartment. In fact, you're paying rent prices from the 1970s, while everyone around you is paying 10 times as much. Something like you're paying $200 a month when market rent is $5,000 a month. Life is good, you have an awesome place, and you're not paying much for it until April 30th, 2011 comes along. And you forget to renew the lease before the deadline. The one thing you were supposed to do. Your girlfriend is not going to be happy. Now, what actually happened is the management at Park City Mountain Resort had a lease for the top half of the mountain for $155,000 per year from Talisker Corporation, a price set in the 1970s, and Park City Resort had invested over $100 million into improvements. And the lease that the entire resort depended on to stay open, that the $100 million in improvements is on, lapsed. Park City Mountain Resort was just a few days late on their filings. And Vail Resorts had made an offer to take over the lease. If you are the person responsible, or really anyone working for the company, you are screwed. That's what we're going to talk about today, as well as POW, parks, and people as we explore the truth about Park City Mountain Resort. But first, this video is brought to you by Shred School. If you've been stuck at the same level of riding for years, or you just want to get better faster, come check out how to learn the tricks you've been dreaming of at edshreds.com. Formerly a mining town, Park City once had a growing population and an economy to support it. The Silver King Coalition mine in Park City was once the world's richest. And in 1884, Park City Mountain Resort was founded by William S. Godbey, a Mormon leader and president of the University of Desiree. The first ski jump was built in 1930, and the resort opened its first chairlift in 1938. After a mass exodus once mining shut down, the town population rebounded in the 1980s and 90s, with ski resorts growing in popularity, bringing the current day population as of a 2010 census to just 7,500 people. Considering over 600,000 people visit every year, bringing in over $500 million in annual tourism revenue, and PC is home to Sundance Film Festival, the largest independent film festival in the US, that's a small base of locals supporting the three ski resorts: Park City, the Canyons, and Deer Valley. The Canyons used to be called Park City West, but was renamed in 1997. And Deer Valley, well, let's just say that they're stuck in the past, and that's all you need to know for now. The cool thing about flying into Park City is from the Salt Lake City airport, you can get to 7 different resorts within 45 minutes. You can even show your boarding pass and ski the same afternoon you arrive for free. Park City has long been a friend to snowboarding, hosting the 2002 Olympic halfpipe competition. Yes, it was a halfpipe before super pipes existed. The USA swept the podium, with Ross Powers taking gold, Danny Cass taking silver, and JJ Thomas getting bronze. Something that we'll probably never see again with how good these Japanese kids are. I should say that Heikki Sorsa also took 7th place with a full-blown mohawk and a giant alley-oop front 5, which has to be one of the greatest contest moments in history. Just go watch it to see what I'm talking about. It's punk rock snowboarding at its finest. But even before snowboarding made its mark, Utah was known for the greatest snow on earth, aka champagne powder. And I have to agree, compared to Colorado, the terrain is steeper, the snow lasts longer, and there are more options to ride. If you like free riding, powder, cliff drops, and extreme terrain, you have to make it out to Utah. So back to the big mistake. Since Vail was trying to take over the lease, the CEO of Powder Corp, which owned Park City Mountain Resort, threatened to remove all but 3 of Park City's lifts if the lease was lost to Vail Resorts, arguing that they were company investments not permanently fixed to the land and thus not part of the lease, meaning Vail Resorts would have to replace all the lifts if they insisted on taking over the lease. Keep in mind this battle was going on in courtrooms for 3 years. The Vail Resorts CEO responded that his company would have no problem replacing the lifts if it came to that, but he hoped Powder Corp would recognize that a scorched earth approach would only hurt the Park City community. Vail Resorts and Powder Corp later announced the sale of Park City's base and lift facilities to Vail Resorts for $182.5 million, resolving the multi-year dispute over which company has the right to operate the Park City lifts. As for the lease, it went from $155,000 per year to $25 million a year, plus a large revenue share to lease not only the top of Park City Mountain Resort, but all of the Canyons Resort next door. Don't worry, Vail Resorts has a 50-year lease with 6 options to renew for 6 more 50-year leases. Let's just hope no one from Vail forgets. So now, Vail Resorts has linked the two together, the Canyons and Park City, with a gondola, much like Whistler and Blackcomb. And the Canyons and Park City have become the largest resort in the United States of America. But as one article put it, unless you like riding lifts and contouring more than skiing the fall line, you would never traverse the extent of the mega ski area in a day. It's too spread out. 1 Park City Mountain Resort plus 1 Canyons does not a shamanics make, referring to the massive linked ski areas in Europe. And I can attest, it takes a couple hours to make your way from one side of the mountain to the other. Although I did ride it all in one day, it just took the entire day to do it. Park City Mountain Resort is now the largest ski resort in the USA at 7,300 acres, 17 peaks, 300 trails, and 38 lifts. Now the Canyons used to have 3 terrain parks. It now has none, but we did see a moose or 2 while we were there. It's more of a family-friendly cruiser resort with some good steep stuff and natural half-pipes sprinkled in. Park City has some epic terrain parks, including the infamous 3 Kings. Just keep in mind, if you're staying at the Canyons, you might opt to take an Uber back from the park rather than take all the lifts again, like we chose to do. Park City also has some incredibly steep riding off Jupiter Bowl, and there's an awesome short hike off McConkey's Express. I hear from the locals that Park City only gets 365 inches of annual snowfall, where some of the other resorts around Salt Lake City get much more. So be sure to check out Snowboard, which gets over 500 inches annually. We had an epic POW day there. Just show up early to beat the lines and try to get a rope drop on the back like we did. And even though Snowboard is connected to Alta, don't expect to be able to cross the barrier there. The skier versus snowboarder battle continues.
Because they're messing.
Brighton also gets 411 inches of snow per year and has a serious park scene, plus what can only be described as a skate park-like backcountry area of the Millie Express. You can also head on over to Woodward Park City, which is even more like going to a skate park made of snow than to a mountain resort. It's got hot laps through the park for days, and that's about it. Now don't think I'm downplaying it, this place is awesome, and if you head inside you can hit the tramps, skate park, and foam pits. It's a very good place to improve your park skills. Unfortunately, when we visited, it was covered in 2 feet of snow during a Friday night blizzard, so I was searching out POW lines under the lights instead of sending it off a 60-foot jump. This 10-second interruption is brought to you by Shred School. Learn the tricks you've been dreaming of at edshreds.com. Back to our programming. General consensus on the mountain was that some locals were still upset about the merger, but anyone with an Epic Pass can appreciate the affordable skiing across the US. No more need to buy a separate pass if you already live in a place where you buy the Epic Pass anyway, like I do in Colorado. So overall, if you're looking for a Park City Mountain Resort review, I'd give Park City and the surrounding resorts, because they're all so close together and you really can visit all of them when you go, a 9 out of 10 on a must-visit rating. In general, Colorado has better terrain parks, but the Utah snow can't be beat, and it tracks out slower than Colorado by a long shot. I'm talking POW lines till the end of the day if you go to the right resort and take the right runs. It is one of the best places to get your shred on in the US. Just be careful about ducking ropes and going into the backcountry, because there have been some avalanche deaths this year. And just remember, if you have a good thing going, don't screw it up. This will go down in history books as one of the ski and snowboard industry's most costly errors. That is, unless Vail Resorts makes the same mistake. If it's a curse, then it may be inevitable. As Elon Musk likes to say, fate loves irony. Let me know in the comments, have you been to Park City? Do you like it better or worse now that it's connected to the canyons? Do you hate Vail Resorts like half the snowboard world, or love them like the other half because you get to ride around the world for the price of just 1 pass? That's all for today. Peace out, Shredder.
Got strapped in.